Solar Impulse TV. You're watching images that we recorded a little earlier of Bertrand Piccard preparing finally to leave Chongqing. I know it's hard to believe that I'm saying those words because it's been so long. A little reminder for those of you who've been following the Round the World since the beginning. We weren't expecting to stay in Chongqing for just a few hours, and we've been staying for almost 3 weeks. Yeah, it was March when we took off from Mandalay to head to Chongqing, and finally the weather gods are with us, and looks like we're going to be leaving very shortly. So there's the images we can see now from the plane in Chongqing International Airport, and in a little while we're going to hear from Bertrand Piccard. Before then, I just wanted to read out something that we had. This, I've got a 3-page email from one of the people who follows Solar Impulse and is maybe watching now. His name is Paolo Franchi, if I pronounced that correctly. And he was saying, oh, you know, Zulu, GMT, UTC, because we often talk about the different time zones. And GMT is UTC and is Zulu. And there is a reason for that. Zulu is Zulu as in Z, as in 0, and 0 is 0 hour, it's GMT. That's the explanation for that. And apparently time zone H is UTC plus 8, and that is Chongqing now, and time zone hotel. There you go. Glad we cleared that up. Thank you very much for Paolo for your help. If you have any other comments and suggestions, as ever, you can send them to us via solarimpulse.com. We like to receive all of your comments. I know many of you have been reacting with our web team, our social media team, via Twitter, via Facebook, and all the others. And please carry on doing that. Again, that is all via solarimpulse.com. You'll find out all of the social networks there. Well, as promised, let's head now to Bertrand Piccard. A little earlier, he spoke to Solar Impulse TV, and that 3-week layover, maybe it's a record for Solar Impulse, was what he wants to talk to us about.
You know, it has been 3 weeks very stressful for the team, not just for me, not just for André. The team had to find a weather slot that was good in Chongqing, in Nanjing, en route, enough sun for the energy, but also not too much crosswind. And sometimes we had beautiful weather, but too much crosswind. The airplane would have drifted down to Hong Kong or I don't know where. So we had to postpone the flight several times. So today it's a good slot, but very small. Huh? Yesterday it was not good. Tomorrow it's not good. We just have today. The slot is identified by our friends, Luc Trollmans and Wim de Troyer. And we hope it will work, but it should work. But I would like to have a special thought for André, because actually it was André who should have made these flights. And André had to go back to Switzerland for health problems. So all my wishes to him. I know he will follow the flight very carefully from Switzerland on Solar Impulse television, but I will have emotions for him during these flights because he will be at the controls psychologically here. But now I have to bring the plane safely to Nanjing, that's the priority. So André can take over in the beginning of May to fly the big leg, the big jump to Hawaii. So it's also for him that I do the flight. So the airplane will be on the right position for the Pacific.
That was Bertrand Piccard speaking a little earlier to Solar Impulse TV. Now, he did mention André Borschberg there, and André was initially going to be the pilot for this leg. And as Bertrand mentioned there, you may have read about this in some of the press, that André has been a little unwell. He had shingles, and if those of you watching have had shingles listening, then you'll know that can be pretty unpleasant. So André went back to Switzerland just to make sure that was treated as he would wish, and he is recovering very well. We're expecting him to be back with Solar Impulse in Nanjing in a few days' time, but we have to get confirmation on exactly when he's coming back. Of course, we have to make sure we get to Nanjing. It's been a lot of pressure, not just for the pilots, but also for everyone involved with Solar Impulse. And we got more information from our head of communications, who's in Chongqing, Gregory Blatt.
Well, we had André, who was diagnosed with Zona and returned back to Switzerland to seek medical treatment. And I always get very, very nervous when the pilots have health issues. Thank God they haven't had any health issues in the time that we've been traveling around the world. But that was also a moment of stress. And also not having my 2 pilots next to me also makes me nervous. But also the teams. We had one team in Chongqing, one team in Nanjing, and people were going back and forth. And of course we have the team in Monaco. And then everybody getting together for meetings, for who's going where, who has to be where. We think we're going to fly earlier last week. Everybody gets into place. Everybody moves into position. Then we have to cancel for weather reasons. So a lot of logistics and organizations, but that's all part of it. This is a pioneering, challenging adventure. If it was easy, somebody else would have done it.
That was Gregory Blatt, who was speaking to us a little earlier, head of communications, and just giving us a bit of an update. But the spirit is very good, even better now, because it looks like we're going to take off. And to give us a bit more on that, I want to speak to the DJ, Raymond Claire. They are great. What's with the headphones, Raymond?
Well, it's a new system because, you know, up to now in the front room we had loudspeakers, and only the Capcom had a headset. And the problem, if you are not in the loudspeaker area, you have to push the sound, and so it's getting noisy. And so we decided to have for everyone in the front room our own headset, so we can listen. For the time being, I'm hearing Bertrand and Christophe, the Capcom, so I can follow up the flight without disturbing with the loudspeaker or so on. This is a new system. And with this, I can hear you.
Right, you look very cool as well.
So my head is in two parts.
It looks great. Let's just cross briefly now to Chongqing. I think we have some images of the plane right now as it is being prepared. I heard a voice in my head. I get voices in my head as well, Raymond. And they were telling me that we were going through engine run-up, which is normal. Now, you said earlier that in terms of timing for takeoff, that we're on schedule.
Yeah, perfectly. Even a little bit earlier, because we were thinking to have runway 02 right, but now we'll take runway 20 left, which give us 1 kilometer less taxi.
Okay.
So we have plenty of time, but we will not take off before 45. Also for energy and everything until daylight, we prefer to stick to the plan. And you know, we are a Swiss company.
Yes.
And we have
Swiss
Omega
time.
watches.
Yeah. No
This
messing
is
around.
very important.
It's true. Apart from the 3-week layover, which was supposed to be a couple of hours, apart from that,
Okay.
you're sticking to Swiss time. Now, we heard from Bertrand and Greg in Chongqing just now, and they were saying that it's been very challenging over there. So I know it's been very challenging here at the MCC. And you've managed to deal with that by doing everything you can and being very creative about finding ways. I know that you were talking about pit stops in different parts of China, just thinking of anything. Were these serious attempts, or was it desperation? Or?
No. It was serious attempts. We were thinking, in Chongqing, and we see now we have some bad weather coming in Chongqing, because we planned the possible pit stop for today's flight. We thought also that Nanjing will not be very good Tuesday evening. So we thought, okay, let's get out of Chongqing. Let's land in Wuhan, for example, which is in the middle of the flight, of the track, and then fly on Wednesday to Nanjing. So this was some of the thoughts we had in our mind, looking for different airports or so. Finally, we found a solution to go direct, which is much easier for everything, for the logistic, for the team, and so on.
Yes, because if you're going to consider a pit stop, it's extremely complicated logistically. You have to get a mobile hangar there. You have to move the team there. Some of them have to drive many hours. China's a big country.
Yeah, and also the airport, Wuhan, for example, we never talked to them before. We didn't talk to them. We talked to Beijing, and they said, no way for Wuhan, it's too busy and so on. But for another airport, maybe a smaller airport would be possible. But finally, we found a solution without this.
And as you say, you often have to go through to Beijing. It is an enormous country, the biggest country in the world, and yet you've found that the contact with the Chinese authorities has been extremely helpful.
Excellent, yeah, absolutely. They would like to know what we do, of course, and the problem is that we change a lot of times our plan. So at the beginning, it was not easy for them to understand why we are changing and so, but now as it's already the second flight we are doing with them, because the flight from Mandalay to Chongqing, and now so many trials and different solutions that now they always say yes.
Well, let's head back to the last briefing we had, and this was since we landed in Chongqing, the third pre-flight set of briefings, and you can watch this as well, Raymond.
Okay.
We fly below, huh? We fly below at the start, and at Bombo we can go through.
Okay, I had something else here. I was planning to leave at 2:45.
Yeah, and move further to the east and then get to altitude and then proceed further on in the road. Taking off earlier might help for the cumulus later on, but does not help in terms of energy in the morning. If you take off 1 hour earlier,
or fly as rapid or as quick to create cumulus clouds and later on even towering cumulus with the showers. If we have a crisis, we'll meet here.
yeah, which we have.
Landing time, but more or less that's something more.
Taking off earlier will not help because in the battery
No critical wind correction angle, which is below 30 degrees.
This hole should improve the cooling. Then
Not too short.
Normal length.
Normal landing, yeah.
should then.
No Virgas anymore for the second.
Nice smile from Raymond at the end there after all that tension. How have you been managing to handle it? Because I know that there have been a couple of days where some people went home and they came back, but I've been here and I've been listening to briefings pretty much every day.
Yes. Yeah, we had every day 2 briefings in European time at 8 o'clock in the morning, just for breakfast and to start the job, to make everybody aware of what we are planning, what we are trying. And then we had a briefing either at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which was with the results of the studies of the morning. And then we decided for the work for the afternoon. And the meeting we just saw now, the briefing we just saw now was yesterday afternoon. So Monday afternoon with the pilot, with the full team in China, also logistic and team support. And this is really flight briefing with all details. Was very interesting. And, you know, we have some clouds on this flight. It will not be an easy one. 1 hour ago, Luc told me it's the most difficult leg we'll have for weather, which means we will have to work tactically, I think. It's not impossible, it's interesting. It will be interesting for us, for the pilot also. We will learn a lot.
Now, many people like to follow the flights from the beginning to the end. Are there any particular points they should look out for in terms of difficult weather, difficult conditions?
Well, now for the departure, already we have some clouds. We had some drops, but the raindrops. The aircraft was still in the tent. Now it's dry, and we are going to take off in about 15 minutes. I think it's good. Now the rest of the flight, I mean, will be the first part will be more difficult for cloudiness. The second part will be easy, and of course, always the landing is an easy one.
Okay, I think you're getting the call, Raymond, to head back. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And we will speak to you again during the flight, of course.
See you.
So there's the update. It's a difficult flight for Bertrand Piccard. He always seems to get the tricky ones, doesn't he? And the conditions are going to be not as easy as we had thought. Well, we never thought they were going to be easy, but more difficult than we thought on takeoff. I heard the announcement earlier when Luc Trudemans realized that there had been some slight drops of rain. Not calling it rain, slight drops of rain, which is not something you want to hear just before a solar impulse takeoff. So stay tuned. And the takeoff time is still going to be the same. It is in around about 15 minutes time. That is not changing for now. Now, we've been taking you through the different teams here at Mission Control over the last few shows. We've spoken to the air traffic control team. We've spoken to the flight strategy team. 4 main teams, each of whom are essential to making the mission control room work correctly and provide all the information to the mission director, Raymond Clair, so that he can decide whether or not a flight is possible. So I took the opportunity to speak to Michael Anger, who's the head of the mission engineering team, and asked him for his views on the next leg from Chongqing to Nanjing.
It has taken so long for leaving Chongqing because we had overall weather situation for this next leg, which is related with a lot of crosswind en route. And we did in the past we did simulations and it was more easy, so the weather was more favorable, but the next leg with the situation we have at the moment is a little more difficult than we thought. But nevertheless, it's not the most difficult one we ever fly, but certainly we are a little bit under pressure to go now to the east coast of China and prepare for the Pacific. On the other hand, we don't want to do something stupid on this short leg, so we want to really have a safe flight in good conditions, do the last training with the pilot, preparing him for the Pacific. So we want to really have a good profile, not be too stressed, really focus on the overall picture. One of the best places we could find in the last years statistically. So it's very nicely surrounded in a plateau, and it's most of the people say it's always bad weather there, but it's not true. Our meteorologists find a good airport which has good weather, good takeoff and landing conditions, meaning not a lot of wind on ground. And in general, it's central China. It's one leg to go, so it's a good airport. And we are not talking only about the weather in Chongqing. It's en route weather, so weather between Chongqing and Nanjing. And at altitude, we have crosswinds from the north, bringing good weather, but also a lot of crosswind. And this makes it difficult for the plane to stay on the exact routing.
Mickey Anger, the head of the mission engineering team here, giving us a bit of an update, reminding people why we decided to head to Chongqing. We had a few comments on social media saying, why go there if there's so much bad weather? But as he said, this really was the best option for us, leaving Mandalay and heading into China. And we have found a weather window. It took a bit longer than we'd been expecting. We were hoping for just a few hours, and in the end it was 3 weeks, but that is part of the adventure of Solar Impulse. We have a weather window now. We will be taking off in, let me check we are looking at, under 15 minutes time, around 30 minutes time is the estimated takeoff for Solar Impulse 2 from Chongqing to Nanjing. And then after that, it's a whole new ball game, but we'll talk about the whole Pacific adventure, 120 hours, one man in a tiny cockpit. That is our next adventure, but let's get Bertrand Piccard to Nanjing first of all. Well, before then, we will take a look at the adventure around the plane, all the things the team have been doing. They've been in China for quite a while now, and they've been having a pretty good time. Let's take a look at this, and we start in Nanjing.
How light is it?
It is used for the
Yes.
Switzerland and China have been friends for 65 years, it has been underlined. And there is good reason for that, to go on for numerous coming years. You see, China is the largest and most dynamic country in the world, and Switzerland is considered to be the most innovative and competitive country, so we have much to share.
Ni hao. Good afternoon to all of you. It's a real privilege to be here today. I mean, these are moments that we really like with Bertrand. To sit down, to be with you, the next generation will make the world of tomorrow.
So when you see our airplane flying, sometimes with André, at the control, sometimes with me. Remember, this is an example. This is a symbol. It's an inspiration for you to do the same in your life.
也可以运用，如果人的话，能否运用到现在世界上最大的飞机波音747上面？
The first airplanes 100 years ago could not either transport passengers because it was the beginning of a cycle. Now we make the beginning of a new cycle and we will see where it will lead us. But first, really remember, the technologies we have in the airplane can be used on the ground for mobility, for construction, for life, for industry, to have a better quality of life.
Some of the images from our team in China, there are some in Chongqing and some of them in Nanjing. And now we're back here at the Monaco Mission Control Center. Now you're looking here, this is a live picture of Bertrand Piccard in Solar Impulse 2. And as you can clearly see, the door has been removed. Door has been removed. Clearly, he's not imminently flying. There are some extra checks that have to be made. And maybe we can turn now to the MCC and let's just have a look at what's happening behind me right now. And the team here are trying to sort out this situation. Now, the information that I've just received is that some of the telemetry that's being received from the plane, i.e. the data that's coming from the plane to here in the MCC, is false data. It's GPS data, I understand. The information that Bertrand has is not the information that we are receiving here in Mission Control. Now, clearly that's a problem we have to resolve. The plane is not going to take off until that is sorted out. So it looks like we probably have some kind of delay on our hands. And again, these are live pictures you're seeing of Bertrand Piccard in communication with Raymond Clair and the team right now. Let's just head back to Mission Control if we can get any more pictures of what's happening here. There you can see Raymond Clair. Now, Raymond Clair is standing up. He's watching the conversation which is taking place between our capsule communication mission engineering team, Christophe Etter and Laila Fatih. And there's a lot of action taking place behind as well. We can see the flight strategy team, Christophe Bezot, and further back, the back row, is the remainder of the mission engineering team. So if you joined us just now, it looks like a delay in takeoff is very likely due to fresh information we've received, which is that there is discrepancy in the telemetry data from the plane and the data that we have here. Bertrand Piccard is speaking right now to the mission control team to try and resolve this issue.
I climb max power in the beginning, and I will reach 7 kilowatts for continuous flight.
That
for 156, I'm in contact with something tower of 1180 kilos. Then I will change to something of 4.5 decimals.
Okay, I didn't got in the clearance what altitude have you been cleared? What is the clearance of altitude?
They did not give me the clearance altitude.
Okay, so we have to get it later. Huh? He didn't give us an altitude yet. Now from the Capcom MCC we have not much new. The layer of stratus seems to disappear slowly, so we have to check in flight exactly what happens.
Okay. If you see any stars above, Ok, c'est au Picard, ok.
Tahan told us before he sees some stars, yes.
J'ai ici le SAS. Il faut pas regarder. Il y a tellement de parce que dans la vie,
J'ai ici le SAS. Ouais. Vous ne pouvez pas le regarder. D'accord. C'est assez normal parce qu'il n'a pas de pièce. À mon avis, il y a ce point-là. Ouais. Il y a MAS Reduce Supervision. Et puis j'avais ce côté-là qui impliquait rouge, bleu. Et puis les deux.
Bertrand, to make sure, do not start another procedure with the people there. We are doing it from here.
Et ensuite, ils m'ont dit si tu fais. Attends, Monaco stand-by, please. J'ai enlevé le... Ouais. Exactement, ça, tout s'est arrêté, tout s'est remis en ordre. J'ai remis le...
Bertrand.
J'ai regardé 10 secondes.
Yeah, sorry, just to make sure, do not make another procedure with the people on ground there at the electrical. So.
Yes,
no, I'm just explaining to the electrician what was happening and confirm that what was correct.
Okay, perfect.
I'm just explaining to the electrician what was happening and confirm that what he told me was correct.
But we cycle IMAR 2, 10 seconds.
7.
And Bertrand, we will reset also the second system as before. So it is the CB Alpha 7 on SHL2 bus. It's almost the same location. Hey firm, IMAR 2, you have to pull it for 10 seconds and reset.
Okay.
It's IMAR 2. Okay.
Solar Impulse TV, and these are live images of Bertrand Piccard, who's on the runway at Chongqing International Airport. As you can see, the door to the plane has been removed, and that means that there is an issue that needs to be resolved. The latest information that I have from here at the Monaco Mission Control Center is that there is a discrepancy with the data that's being sent and the data that we're receiving. So this is a telemetry discrepancy which is being resolved right now. You can see a lot of information there at the front of the screen to the left. And that is the Swisscom team who are responsible for the communication between the plane and Monaco.
Okay.
When I say full up, it's full power right now. I don't have the time to put the landing gear up.
Yes, okay. And yeah, to make a 180, yeah, you have to check, huh? We cannot turn at 100 meters above ground, so we have to check. 1 second. Yeah, Bertrand, we shouldn't turn below 2,000 feet. Huh? 2,000 feet is the minimum, otherwise we are not covered with the obstacles.
Okay, 2,000 feet.
And at this point, you will decide, or we can help you to make 180 back or to make a short circuit. And it would be a right-hand circuit because on the left hand there are more obstacles. A right-hand circuit.
Yes. That's okay.
Okay.
Ça marche, c'est bon. Ok. Ok, so. Comment? Okay. Normalement, c'est ça. Donc c'est bon là. Parce que j'ai pas besoin de même. Hein. Ah oui, non. Ouais, ouais. Sur ton propos, on n'y arrive pas. Butter, review. First, let's test that.
This is Solar Impulse TV. These are live pictures coming to us from Chongqing International Airport with Bertrand Piccard going through still the preparatory phases for takeoff. But as you can see, there is one of our electrical engineers there who is currently trying to sort out an issue that we have with regards to the data, the telemetry that Bertrand Piccard is sending and what we are receiving here in Monaco. So clearly we can't take off until that issue is resolved, and the engineer is going through that now with Bertrand, who's staying calm, trying to stay focused as well. But clearly we do have a delay now for takeoff. We're going to stay with these images as well. At the moment, we cannot tell you how far we are from resolving this issue.
C'est là qu'ils font un coup, là. Sinon, ils sont BSS. D'accord. Ok, mais par contre, là, j'aimerais un peu de batterie. On a bon. Dans méga. Voilà,
Bertrand,
et maintenant j'ai ça, c'est parfait. C'est clair. Ouais, c'est parfait, merci beaucoup. Merci.
Bertrand, can you tell us
Merci. Allez, à Nanjing, si tout va bien.
Bon vol.
Ouais, ouais.
Bon vol, Bertrand.
À Nanjing et nulle part ailleurs.
Guess what? We can try a new hot pot in Nanjing.
No, no.
Bertrand, can you tell us you had another problem?
No more hot pot. We've got a few more.
Okay, it looks like we're all back on. This is Solar Impulse TV, and as you can see, the door to the cockpit is being put back on, so we're going to be back into our preparation for takeoff. We heard there from Bertrand that the equipment that seemed to be sending out incorrect information is back online. Everything is smooth. Everyone's happy here in Monaco as well. We had a few cheers there, a few rounds of applause. We'll try and get an update from you, but meanwhile we're going to stay with these preparations for takeoff. Clearly we are delayed, but I think we are not going to be delayed for too much longer. So these are live images, Bertrand Piccard in pre-takeoff mode. And we're going to stay with Bertrand until Solar Impulse takes off and leaves for Nanjing.
Yes, so what would you like? Thank you very much, guys. What would you like?
Is the position correct? You see yourself on the tarmac on the right place?
I position exactly well.
Okay, fine, and the instrument is also correct, and both attitudes are correct.
Altitude I have 10, it should be at 1400. Actually, the 10162 and 8 is
Yeah, this point is fine, there's no problem.
Yeah, I have the other one.
Oh non, quitte-moi. Je me fais marche arrière, vers la voiture.
Where we were, you will see on the rudder, you can line up on the runway and you will not have the red line.
Okay, Bertrand, we can continue with the before takeoff checklist, a few cross checkpoints.
Okay, so cockpit instruments are set, Telemetry check on, nano, yes, torpedo, golden block, seatbelt, fuel, telemetry, tell me. You receive.
Telemetry is fine.
Okay, airbase requested enough. This. Wheel chocks are removed because I'm rolling. I'm pushing me. Tail spring without.
We ask for line up via Tahan.
Negative. I'm on two around, so I will do that check when nothing will be around the aircraft. -around. And the rest I cannot do because I have it myself.
Okay, just to make sure the media panel, media system recording on.
You're watching Solar Impulse TV. These are live pictures coming from the Mission Control Center. The takeoff has been delayed. We had a slight issue earlier. We're going to try and get a bit of an update on that from our mission engineer, Andreas. Andreas, hi, thanks for being here. You were in the MCC. There was a lot of activity just now. Can you just briefly recap what happened?
Yeah, actually, we're just checking some systems. We had to reboot some, let's say, we had to reboot the telemetry computer, and we had to reboot the EMA 1 and 2, just to make sure that the system is working properly, because we had initially some
okay, so
indifferent data.
So essentially, when you say telemetry, we had a communication problem, so that the information that Bertrand was seeing was not necessarily the same as the information that you were seeing in Monaco. Is that right?
That's one of the
Which
issues.
sounds quite worrying.
Yes. No, actually, the problem seems to be solved now. So,
yeah. But there must have been a few moments where you were all a bit...
Yeah, because exactly, we were not sure about what exactly the problem is, so we had to figure out what the reason for the problem was, and that's why we actually had to investigate, and that took time.
Okay, but you're looking a bit happier now. You look happier anyway.
Yes.
All right, okay, so we're all fine now, it's all good, and we're back in the usual pre-flight checklist, yeah?
Well, we have still some open points, but it's now
it's all
on the
looking
way.
Good. Well, when we saw the door going back on, that was definitely a good sign.
Yes,
that means
exactly.
that we're nearest to taking off.
Just
okay.
a few checks outstanding, and then
we're all good to go.
Yeah, should proceed according to plan.
Okay, Andreas, thanks very much. I know you've still got lots of things to do. I'll let you get back and carry on. Thanks for sparing a bit of time with us just before takeoff. So just a reminder of what Andreas was saying, what we saw with the team. There was a discrepancy between the data that was in the plane and what we were receiving in Monaco. They've gone for a reboot. It's the classic IT thing, isn't it? If you don't know what you're doing, turn it off and turn it on again. And that seems to have worked here on Solar Impulse. Thanks very much, Andreas. And we're going to head back now to the plane, Chongqing International Airport. And as we can see there, we have a few more checks to do before we can get the plane off the ground.
Okay, Bertrand, I heard we are on standby. To make sure the doors, the big one and the small one, are mounted now.
Sure, yes, everything is mounted. I have only one camera, a camera, there is a camera. I have elevator machine and a road. Line up, 0 left to prove, thank you. Okay, enough by here. Okay, good. Yeah.
Ouais, volontiers. Donc ici...
Ça permet d'enregistrer la procédure.
Solar Impulse 2 is now being maneuvered into position. We can maybe get a picture of that now. The plane being moved to its takeoff position on the runway. There it is. And as ever, the plane has to be physically pulled into place by the members of the ground crew. As you can see that they are under the fuselage, underneath the cockpit, and there are also members of the ground crew who are holding on to each side of the wing at the two extremities to ensure stability. Now the distance from the initial position to the takeoff point is around about 1 kilometer. And look at those guys pushing it as fast as they can, because they know that there is a limited window with which we can take off. This is a busy airport after all, so we can't hang around for too long before taking off.
You have the Geng 1016 set.
1016.
Roger.
And the message we're getting from Monaco Mission Control is that it's not going to be an easy flight. According to our meteorological team, this is probably going to be, in terms of weather, the trickiest flight so far, and Bertrand Piccard is going to have to deal with that. The trickiest phase is going to be the beginning of the flight. So if you tend to follow the flight on solarimpulse.com from beginning to end, then look out for this initial phase where we're traveling up through cloud. And that is going to be tricky for Bertrand. After that, I understand that it gets a little easier.
Confirm you receive from ground crew to be.
And then there's going to be the landing to contend with in Nanjing.
Offset 1 meter to the left of the center line.
Okay, checked.
When we asked Bertrand earlier what it's like having to wait for this moment for 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks now, he said, sure, it's been difficult, but we've been waiting for this round the world for 13 years, so hey, what's 3 weeks? And 13 years ago, no one believed this plane could even exist, so to put that into context, then we're quite happy to have even made it this far. But there's still a long way to go before we complete this round-the-world adventure. We're now delayed by around 15 minutes.
Camera you received on the ground?
We had discrepancy with telemetry between what Bertrand was seeing and what we were seeing in Monaco. That equipment has now been rebooted. We're back on track now.
The tail, we received the tail yet.
The tail, so I can see do something else now.
The media would like to see your face.
Yep. Okay. It just would like 1 second of light before this. Yes, wire the gas finger. Thank you.
Bertrand, confirm you tried to switch to the face camera?
Negative. I just needed a moment of privacy before takeoff.
Okay.
So now I go back to the camera.
Okay, we have it.
Good.
And to cross-check the last...
Side, on my side I'm ready.
Can you tell her
And I want to cross-check the last point from the ground crew, the gas spring alignment.
tell her that this is the perfect distance, if he can keep this distance. It's perfect. Perfect distance. Always.
Okay, on my side I would be ready.
Do you have still contact with the ground crew?
I can call them if you want. Okay, yeah, okay. You want to tell something to the ground team? Hotel, Bravo, Bravo. I am ready for departure on 50 left.
Okay, Bertrand, we're just missing the readiness and we'll be ready for departure.
Hotel, Bravo, Sierra, India, Bravo. I am ready for departure on 50 left. Zero takeoff runway Thank you. Okay, so I am cleared from the tower. I will already put the motor in launch position. Okay, Monaco?
1 second. Okay, Bertrand, readiness is done. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you.
This is live from Chongqing and Monaco. We are ready now for the start of the 6th leg of our round-the-world flight attempt, the first ever round-the-world flight by a solar plane. Solar Impulse 2. Stay glued to these pictures because it will just take around 100, 150 meters before Solar Impulse leaves the ground.
That's the great moment. We can finally go to Nanjing. All engines running, max power. Speed rising, 26 knots, rotation, and that's it. Wow, great. Finally in the air again.
Okay, Bertrand, when ready, can you give us a speed reading on all 3 instruments?
Yes, I have a 2.9er on the PMC. Well, now it's 3.0 on PMC. 2.9er on the Garmin and 2.9er on the Winter.
That checked, merci.
Everything's smooth on my side.
Perfect.
The day is coming, so I have visual on the hills around me.
Okay, and from the time you see how many octas over you?
7.
Okay.
Oh, just over me is 8. But if I look around, they are all not over me but on the side. So it's 7 for the general sky.
Okay, it should come better when we fly to the east.
Okay, I can start to little bit more nose up. Hotel India Bravo, I prepare the right turn when reaching 800 meters. Yeah, it's safer to make a right turn because there are a lot of hills.
Well, there we can see Solar Impulse heading up into the clouds. Yes, a lot of clouds out there around Chongqing. You may have heard him say 8 octaves above. That's 8 octaves of cloud cover. That's pretty much complete cloud cover, and 7 octaves ahead, so even further ahead, there's a lot of clouds. So now what Bertrand is doing, he's circling around the airport and rising until eventually he will manage to get above some of those clouds. Not flying particularly high over this leg so far, around about 12,000 feet. And if you can, okay, this is a job for my cameraman here on number 3. That's you, Francois. If you just bring it down a little bit there so we can just see this screen. There you go. Now, all of this is what Bertrand is seeing right now. And you can see this too. There you go. Thank you very much, Francois. Great job. And look at that. That was so smooth. Good round of applause for that man there. You can watch all this on solarimpulse.com. And you can follow the flight right through until the end. We will have video of Bertrand in the cockpit. This kind of image as well, which we're getting now live from Bertrand Piccard. And you can look through all of this. There are lots of things to discover on solarimpulse.com. So have a flick around. You'll also see the latest reports we're getting through from social media. Our web team is working constantly as well. And I will be back as well. We've got a few in-flight interviews taking place. Bertrand Piccard is going to be speaking to members of the press, particularly the Chinese press. And I'll be back at around about 2 GMT, UTC, Zulu. Now remember what Zulu means. And you can come back and we'll have that as well on Solar Impulse TV. Then we're back for the final element of this leg. Of course, it's the landing. We're back for the landing show and we'll have confirmation as well. Now don't forget, Future is Clean. This is the reason we're doing all this. You can find that via this site, futureisclean.org. And there's more information there. Don't forget to click I agree. Concrete actions for a cleaner future. There she is. That is the homepage of Future is Clean. It's a movement that we're building, that we've initiated, building in lots of partners. Around 50 organizations now have signed up to Future is Clean. Thousands of people are joining all the time. And if you haven't done so, do it now. Just click I agree on futureisclean.org, because that ultimately is what this is all about. If we manage to do this around the world, flight attempt successfully, but no one has contributed anything to making the world a place that is polluting less and a cleaner future for us and our children, then we will still have failed. So we need you to help us for this. futureisclean.org. Well, I think that's it now. You can see again the images of Bertrand Piccard taking off a little earlier. Right now the plane is heading up into the clouds. So see you again on Solar Impulse TV. All the updates, of course, will be on this website, solarimpulse.com.